Today's story, Rin, the Lonely Mage. In the heart of a vast, frozen wilderness, where the world was blanketed in a serene, endless white, there stood a majestic mountain. It rose from the earth like a titan, its peaks piercing the heavens. This was the Snowdrift Peak, a place where only the bravest souls dared to tread. Its slopes were treacherous, and the howling winds whispered tales of ancient magic and untold mysteries. Atop Snowdrift Peak, a solitary tower stood, shrouded in an aura of mystique. It was Rin's tower, a mage of unparalleled skill and wisdom. The tower was a testament to her mastery over the arcane arts, a manifestation of her connection to the forces of nature and magic. It rose from the rocky terrain like a sentinel, its tall spires reaching toward the sky, adorned with enchantments that shimmered like stars in the cold night. The tower's exterior was crafted from shimmering, ice-blue stones that seemed to absorb the pale light of the moon and the vibrant hues of the setting sun, lending it an ethereal glow. Intricate runes were etched into its walls, an enchantment designed to protect. These runes pulsed with a soft, azure light, casting eerie shadows on the snow below. These arcane symbols, concealed beneath a layer of frost, held the secrets of protection. When the mountain's fury unleashed its blizzards and avalanches, the runes came to life, forming an invisible shield around Rin's tower. The harsh elements could only batter against the magical barrier, leaving the interior warm and untouched. Yet the runes were more than just a shield. They were vigilant sentinels, their ancient eyes watching the mountain slopes. When an unwelcome presence dared to approach, the runes would awaken, glowing with an intense, pulsating light. It was a warning to Rin, a signal that someone or something was drawing near, disrupting her solitary existence. Amidst these protective runes, others held the key to communication. Intricately linked to enchanted crystals within her tower, they allowed Rin to send her knowledge and wisdom far beyond the snowy peaks. With a touch of her magic, she could send messages through these conduits, staying connected to the outside world, even in her isolation. As one ascended the tower's spiraling staircase, each level revealed a new wonder. Rin's living quarters were adorned with tapestries depicting scenes from her many adventures, illuminated by softly glowing crystals that lined the walls. The main chamber was a grand library, filled with ancient tomes and scrolls, their secrets waiting to be unraveled. A fireplace in the center of the room crackled with magical flames, providing warmth despite the chill outside. Rin had a magical garden on the tower's rooftop, where she cultivated rare and exotic plants that thrived in the frigid climate. These plants glowed with otherworldly colors, their petals shimmering like gemstones in the perpetual twilight of the mountain. She often found solace in this garden, tending to her flora and drawing strength from their mystical energies. From her lofty tower, Rin gazed out over the vast expanse of snow and ice, her keen eyes scanning the horizon for signs of dangerous creatures. She was both guardian and sage, a mage of immense power who had chosen a life of solitude to protect the secrets of the mountain, and to ensure that its ancient magic was preserved for generations to come. And so, high atop Snowdrift Peak, in her tower of ice and wisdom, Rin continued to weave her spells, unravel the mysteries of the arcane, and watch over the frozen wilderness below. A beacon of hope and magic in a world of endless white. At night, the mournful howls of the frostwolves echoed through the icy winds, their presence an ever-present threat to anyone foolish enough to wander too far from the safety of the tower's walls. These massive, ice-coated wolves, with fur as white as the snow, were cunning hunters, known for their deadly ambushes. Deeper into the heart of the mountain, where the terrain grew more rugged and unforgiving, the glacial yetis held sway. These enormous, shaggy creatures, guardians of the most remote and sacred locations, were fiercely territorial. Legends whispered of their immense strength and their uncanny resistance to the biting cold. But it was the snow serpents that sent shivers down Rin's spine. These serpentine predators slithered silently beneath the snow, their scales blending seamlessly with the landscape. They were masters of stealth and ambush, striking swiftly with venomous fangs and constricting coils. Only the most vigilant could hope to evade their deadly embrace. Rin had a deep respect for the creatures that roamed Snowdrift Peak, and she preferred to avoid conflict whenever possible. Her approach to dealing with these creatures was rooted in her understanding of the natural world and her mastery of magic. The most usual way Rin made these creatures run away was through the use of enchantments and illusions. She had learned ancient spells that allowed her to create lifelike illusions of larger, more fearsome predators to deter the frost wolves and glacial yetis. These illusory beasts would appear suddenly, roaring or bellowing, and often sent the creatures fleeing in fear, believing they were facing a formidable adversary. For the snow serpents, Rin employed a different tactic. She had concocted a mixture of herbs and magical essences that emitted a scent repulsive to the serpents. By scattering this mixture around the perimeter of her tower and garden, she created a protective barrier that the serpents would instinctively avoid. This allowed her to coexist peacefully with the enigmatic creatures that slithered beneath the snow. Rin's approach was always one of harmony with the natural world, seeking to maintain a delicate balance between her presence on Snowdrift Peak and the creatures that called it home. Through her knowledge and mastery of magic, she ensured that conflict was rare, and the mountain's creatures could continue to roam undisturbed in their majestic, frozen realm. Rin's journey to Snowdrift Peak, her tower, and her role as its guardian were not only a solemn duty, but also a part of her path toward a higher calling within the mage hierarchy. As she departed Silverhaven Mage University, she carried with her a promise from the Council of Elders. They had pledged that after 5 years of dedicated service as the guardian of Snowdrift Peak, Rin would be granted the esteemed title of a sage. In the mage hierarchy, sages were revered as the second highest ranked mages, just beneath the archmages. They were entrusted with the responsibility of not only safeguarding magical knowledge, but also passing it on to the next generation. With the title of sage came the authority to train and mentor aspiring mages, nurturing their talents and guiding them on quests and journeys across the world. These quests often involved the retrieval of powerful artifacts, the resolution of magical conflicts, or the exploration of hidden realms. Sages were instrumental in maintaining the balance of magic in the world and ensuring that the arcane arts were used responsibly. Rin accepted her role as the guardian of Snowdrift Peak with determination, knowing that it was a stepping stone towards her ultimate goal of becoming a sage. She dedicated herself to the tower and the mountain, preserving its ancient magic and nurturing her own magical abilities. Over the years, she honed her skills and deepened her connection to the natural world, preparing herself for the day when she would ascend to the esteemed rank of a sage. Ready to train and guide the next generation of mages on their quests around the world. As Rin's 5 years of dedicated duty as the guardian of Snowdrift Peak drew to a close, the air atop the mountain was thick with anticipation. The promise of becoming a sage, with the authority to train and guide other mages on quests across the world, was tantalizingly close. The tower, etched with protective runes, stood as a testament to her unwavering commitment to preserving the ancient magic hidden within its walls. Yet, as the final days of her tenure approached, an ominous event unfolded in the night sky. A meteor shower, like a celestial storm, targeted the tower with uncanny precision. The meteors streaked across the heavens, their fiery tails leaving trails of sparks against the dark backdrop. It was as though the cosmos itself conspired to challenge her resolve, testing the very magic that bound her to Snowdrift Peak. Rin woke up in the middle of the night with all the runes glowing stronger than ever and emitting an alarming sound. She equipped her rope and took her staff to the balcony, to watch in awe and trepidation as the meteors hurtled towards her tower. With deft precision and a swift incantation, she summoned a protective barrier of shimmering energy, deflecting the fiery onslaught. As much as she tried to hold up the barrier and protect the tower, some of the meteors exploded against the magical shield, lowering its defense. Some of the meteorites hit the tower, damaging its walls, their shockwaves reverberating across the mountain. Thankfully, nothing too serious happened, and Rin successfully protected the tower. But the meteor shower was not the only threat that night. As Rin stood on the tower's balcony, gazing at the heavens, a low, ominous rumble echoed through the mountain. The earth trembled, and a deafening roar filled the air. A horde of monstrous creatures, unlike any native to the snowy mountains, descended upon her sanctuary. Among them were creatures of darkness and shadow, unnatural beings that should never have set foot on Snowdrift Peak. Their eyes gleamed with malevolence, and their presence disrupted the mountain's delicate balance. Rin was astonished, but she quickly reacted. Using the tower defense runes, she casted a spell and awakened 3 magical stone golems that raised in front of the tower. Rin extended her staff outward, dancing through intricate patterns in the air. She began to chant an incantation, her voice carrying a melodic resonance that resonated with the natural forces of the mountain. Her words wove a tale of transformation, a spell to alter the very terrain upon which the monsters tread. As her incantation reached its crescendo, the earth beneath the creature's feet responded to her magic. The once frozen ground turned to soft, sludgy mud, as if the mountain itself had yielded to her will. The monsters, caught off guard by this sudden transformation, found their advance slowed to a crawl as they struggled through the mire. The mud clung to their limbs and hindered their movements, making it difficult for them to approach Rin's tower with their previous speed and ferocity. It was as though the mountain had come to her aid, lending its power to protect the ancient secrets hidden within the tower's walls. As the creatures fought to get through the mud, Rin lifted a few boulders near the tower and smashed them on the creature's head, killing them. A few of the creatures that managed to get out of the mud were stuck in a fight against the stone golems, which they could not overpower. After a few more minutes of fighting, the last creatures alive fell to their knees. Rin, although exhausted beyond what she thought were her limits, barely standing on her feet, supported by her staff, she carefully watched the battlefield for any remaining sign of life. Exhausted and drained from the harrowing battle against the monstrous horde that had threatened her tower, Rin could barely catch her breath. She stood amidst the aftermath, her magical reserves nearly depleted, and her senses still tingling from the adrenaline of the confrontation. The terrain around her bore the marks of the battle, with patches of mud and scorched earth telling the story of the night's fierce struggle. As Rin gathered her strength and contemplated her next steps, an unexpected and ominous presence descended upon the mountain. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in a dark, billowing robe. The intruder's presence sent a chill down Rin's spine, and she raised her staff defensively. The intruder revealed himself as Mateus, a sage from a distant kingdom. His eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity, and in his outstretched hand, he conjured a massive, swirling ball of fire, its flames dancing with a ferocity that matched the fury in his gaze. His spell was so powerful that as it was created, the ice and snow melted around it. Mateus wasted no time in explaining his intentions. He spoke with a calculated coldness, revealing a sinister motive behind his actions. "Rin," he hissed, "I cannot allow you to become a sage. There are limited positions, and mine is at risk. You are a threat to my aspirations, and I will not let you stand in my way." Amidst the radiant glow, a figure materialized. It was an archmage, distinguished by a flowing, deep blue robe and an intricate, ornate mask that concealed his face. His iron gauntlets were adorned with intricate golden patterns, a symbol of his elevated status among the mage hierarchy. With an air of authority, the archmage raised his hands, and a surge of magical energy emanated from him. The energy coursed through the very fabric of the spellbound fireball Mateus was casting, causing a powerful disruption. The fiery sphere, fueled by Mateus's malevolence, flickered and wavered, then disintegrated into a cascade of sparks and embers. Rin and Mateus stood, momentarily stunned by the unexpected intervention. The archmage's presence commanded respect and authority. The archmage looked at Mateus and asked, "Do you have any idea of what you are doing, sage?" Mateus, with a stunned look on his face, "A horde of monsters attacked the tower, and I rushed here to help." The archmage, disappointed in Mateus's answer, raised his hand and smashed him into the ground. "This tower is the property of Silverhaven Mage University, and one of our outposts that helps keep balance in this area. As a sage, you should have been more than aware of this, and its importance." With deliberate intention, The Archmage raised his hands once more, palms open toward Mateus. A hush fell over the area as the very air seemed to crackle with power. In response to the Archmage's command, ethereal, shimmering chains of pure magical energy materialized in the space between them. These magical chains snaked through the frosty air, coiling and winding themselves with a fluid grace that belied their strength. With a flick of his fingers, the Archmage directed the chains to encircle Mateus's wrists, forming handcuffs that glowed with a faint, otherworldly light. Mateus struggled against the restraints, but the magical bonds held firm, their power drawn from the Archmage's unassailable command over the arcane. The masked Archmage had imposed his authority, ensuring that Mateus would no longer pose a threat. With Mateus now restrained and powerless to continue the battle, the Archmage turned his attention to Rin. He addressed her with a measured tone, acknowledging her efforts to protect the tower. The Archmage, with a respectful tone, addressed Rin. "You did very well, mage. This guy here will get his title stripped, so you will have the spot of sage guaranteed. See you at the ceremony." The masked Archmage, his gaze still concealed by his ornate mask, extended a hand in a gesture of farewell to Rin. There was a solemnity in his movements, a sense of finality, as if he had fulfilled his purpose here. He inclined his head slightly, and then, with a graceful wave, he bid her goodbye. In an instant, the very fabric of reality seemed to ripple around the Archmage and Mateus. The snowy mountain landscape blurred and shifted as the Archmage's powerful magic came into play. With a swirl of arcane energy, they vanished from sight, leaving behind only the echoes of their presence. Rin was left standing in the aftermath, her knees buckling as the adrenaline of the battle drained from her. She sank to the ground, her breaths coming in ragged gasps as she processed the extraordinary events she had just witnessed. The tower of Snowdrift Peak stood tall and silent. Rin remained still, shaken by the encounter with the Archmage and the sudden departure of her would-be adversary. With all the tiredness left after the battle, and the unspeakable happiness of becoming a sage, she was too tired to do anything but return to sleep for the night. A few more weeks later, the grand ceremony took place, where Rin was given the title of sage, and congratulated by the grand jury of Silverhaven Mage University for her achievement of protecting the tower of Snowdrift Peak. If you've listened until now, make sure you like and subscribe, so you'll know when the next story comes around.